Together the Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District Board meeting, November 17th, Thursday. It is 5 o'clock, and I would like to start with introductions of board members. And as I see you on my screen and in the window, I'll call you out and ask you to introduce yourself, please. I'll start with Steve O.
Steve Orzek, Addison Central School District.
Bill B.
Bill Biederman. I don't know what I am. A resident of Middlebury.
And you're with representative.
Yes.
Nick Colston from Shoreham, representing ACSD.
Judd.
John Markowski, resident of Bridgeport and Workforce Investment Board member.
Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Macklin from North Ferrisburg, and I'm the Addison Northwest School District representative.
And online, Steve R.
Yeah, Steve Rooney, representing MAUSD.
Thank you. Kim.
Kim Cronin from New Haven. I'm the committee at large member from the Mount Abraham School District.
Tiffany.
She's muted.
Tiffany, are you there?
There.
In spirit.
Tiffany, I can't hear you. I don't know if anybody else can.
No, we can't either.
No.
She was muted. It looks like she's.
What about now?
There, yeah.
Oh,
there we go.
no. Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I didn't realize I was double muted. Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany Love, and I'm a Middlebury resident, and I represent the WIC committee.
Thank you. And then in the room we have for administrators, Tim,
Tim Williams, Superintendent Director, interim.
Jay,
Jay Stutzel, Assistant Director.
and then Mark,
Mark Bouvier, Business Manager.
and then we have Linda.
Linda Barrett, clerk.
And for teaching staff, we have Kelly.
Kelly Mills, Sustainable Agriculture.
Kelly, are there any other teachers like to your left? Because your left.
These are students.
And
Right,
Patrice
well,
is
I
out.
can see the students,
Yep.
but I couldn't see the end of the table, so.
No other teachers.
But Patrice is just out of view.
The students like to introduce themselves.
My name is Joshua Sherman. I attended Kelly Mills agricultural class last year.
Welcome.
I'm Malachi Sheldrick. I'm in Sustainable Ag currently.
I'm Liam Wagner. I am also in Sustainable Ag currently.
I am Michael Plouffe. I graduated from Kelly Mills Sustainable Ag class and off to college at VCC.
And I apologize, but Mr. Wagner, Mr. Plouffe, I can't see you at all, so I can hear your voices, but that was the extent of. You were like two ghosts just talking there. Welcome, all of you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion about the agenda? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Do we have any visitors other than our FFA students and Kelly that want to make a comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed on. May I have, we have correspondence, which is a letter of retirement. Is that you, Tim?
But Jay's gonna address it.
Okay.
It's in the package.
Dear Hannaford Career Center Board and Dr. Tim Williams, it has been my honor to be of service to students for the past 25 years. It is time for me to step down and hand the reins to a new generation. I respectfully announce that I will retire at the close of the 2022-2023 school year. I want to keep an open door and will always be vested in the dynamic education provided by the incredible team of professionals at our center. Sincerely, Chef Instructor William Danforth.
Thank you for that. We will take up that retirement letter under the action agenda. Under the consent agenda, We have the minutes and the monthly accounts. Since I heard no dissension on the approval of the agenda, I'm going to presume that the minutes are fine. And Nick, can you read the monthly accounts for us?
Yes. So the general fund, these are for October. We spent $467,562 for the energy efficient project. $186,758 for the enterprise revolving fund. $24,565. Scholarship fund, $500. Student activity checking for $6,358. And we had 2 payrolls. The one for October 14th of $92,689, and for the 28th of October, $93,950. That's it.
Nick and I get to, are the 2 that have been reviewing them probably the most, but if anybody else wants to come join us, occasionally we can't make it. I know Steve Orzik has filled in, Judd has filled in. So if anybody else wants to join the party and get to sit down and go through bills, we're more than willing to help educate anybody else that wants to join us. With that being said, we have Kelly with your FFA students. You have a presentation for the board tonight, I believe?
Yes, we do. Go ahead. I'm going to go over towards, I'm going to stand here first and go over and run the slide. Good evening, I'm Kelly Mills. I teach sustainable agriculture here at the Career Center, and I'm proud to introduce 4 of our attendees at the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, and that happened October 26th through the 29th. And I wanted to also thank the board for their quick action in getting the payment for our hotel room straightened out while we were there. So I know it was a race, Mark. You put things into action, got folks on the ground here to get things taken care of. So I wanted to thank everyone for that support. Patrice too, absolutely. Yes, because she took the initial call. So thank you, Patrice. Great, thank you. Dr. Williams, you too. Everyone, thank you. So I wanted to introduce one by one. This is Michael Plouffe. He was a contestant in the dairy handling activity at the National FFA Convention. And then 3/4 of our Farm and Agribusiness Management team, we have Joshua Sherman, Malachi Sheldrick, and Liam Wagner. Our 4th member, Eliza Bent, is a student at Montana State University Western out in Dillon, Montana. So we were able to coordinate, so she joined us out there, so it was really neat. But she wasn't able to meet us even virtually tonight. So go ahead. Let's see here. We'll click along. Yeah. Looks like we're going to have to try to share, right? Or
You're ready on that.
okay, perfect. All right. So the first thing I'd like to do is I would like to play.
Share for those online. Is that what you're
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Jay. Okay. I'd like to play a quick video from the National FFA for you to help give a perspective of how important it is for our students to attend the National FFA Convention.
When the National FFA was founded more than 85 years ago, the world was a much simpler place.
Our country was a simpler place.
It was a time when about 1/4 of all Americans were engaged in agriculture.
A time when many farms still operated without electricity.
When a short trip to town actually meant a pretty long ride.
Times have changed. And agriculture has changed, offering new opportunities and careers in fields like business, education, production, and research.
That means FFA has changed too.
FFA makes a positive difference in the lives of students by developing their potential for premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agricultural education.
We're strengthening American agriculture and providing our members with the skills needed to build healthy local communities, a strong nation, and a sustainable world.
Today, less than 2% of Americans are engaged in production agriculture, but our membership is at an all-time high.
And as we've grown, one thing has come to represent the pride we have in our organization.
It's not a song or a slogan or a flag.
It's a simple blue corduroy jacket.
Without it, I'm just one person. Just one voice.
But with it, I know that more than 500,000 others have my back.
That more than 500,000 others are helping me tackle some of the world's toughest challenges.
Like feeding the world, stewarding our natural resources, and finding solutions for agricultural sustainability.
And we're doing it together. With the help of our families, our teachers and supporters, we are learning to do,
Doing to learn,
earning to live,
and living to serve through our local chapters and state associations and at our conventions and conferences.
by becoming thought leaders and advocates for what we know is right.
We are the next generation of agriculture, committed, passionate, and proud to be among those who feed the world.
Powered by our spirit, guided by our mission.
Symbolized by a simple blue corduroy jacket.
We are the next generation of agriculture.
It's our turn now.
Let's show the world what we can achieve together.
We are FFA.
I think you just closed.
Did I close it? This is all up there.
Probably you can, if you stop sharing, so you'll be able to see at the top.
Oh.
Which that's all, you can reshare it.
We have to reshare now.
Suzanne, can you see the slideshow?
We can see part of it. You've got another window open that's blocking it.
Just click on the slideshow.
And just to let you know that no one online could hear any of the words of that last video.
Okay, so just to give everyone a brief rundown, by the way, this is one of the reasons why it's so important for the students to go to National FFA Convention. They're together very frequently here at the Career Center, but when they go out to National Convention, they're with almost 70,000 others who have the common interest of agriculture, but also what connects them is that blue jacket. And they're going to talk a little bit more about that. We have two chapters here at the Patricia Hannaford Career Center. The Virgins chapter, and Bill Vanderwer is the advisor, has 16 current members, and the Middlebury FFA chapter has 99 members. So we're very active and very busy. So I'm going to let them take it away, folks.
So we were doing a little team building exercise at the hotel, playing some Jenga. That was fun. That was a blast. It didn't last long though.
Ready?
So at the first opening sessions that we went to at the Lucas Oil Stadium, one of the keynote speakers that was there was Tamika Catchings. She is a former WNBA basketball player and a gold medalist in the Rio de Janeiro Olympics.
I forget what night this was, but we went to a concert with Lauren Elena and Jimmy Allen. It was, I'd say, a pretty good time.
One of the nights we were there, we all went as a group, and we got to see a professional rodeo in action.
That was us at the rodeo, getting our picture taken.
This is the farm business management team after our competition. That's Josh Sherman on the left, followed by Eliza Bent, and then Malachi, and then me.
And this is after we got our bronze plaque. Got some photos in. And
You want to talk a little bit about the person who is in the far right picture?
that is Kylie Ellis, and she's a part of the state's FFA.
State FFA secretary.
This was a picture of the grand ballroom on the left where we first met for our farm business management competition. And there's some pictures of other people in blue jackets, but from Montana, which we thought was neat.
This is a picture of the opening session where the official that runs like the whole country, they're from everywhere across the United States. They were talking about themselves and how they got into FFA.
This is a picture from the College and Career Expo. There were businesses that are based out of all over the country, everything from John Deere to Case International Harvest, as you can see there. And there were all kinds of seed companies, machinery companies, and all kinds of equipment there.
I took this picture. I thought it was really neat. This is some technology on the Black Knight prototype tractor that Case had on display. It was in the previous pictures, but as you can see, it's equipped with tracks, and the hydraulic oil level is apparent in the hubs on the wheels that are running the track. So it offers the operator another opportunity to see how their piece of equipment is operating and whether or not they need to do any maintenance. I'm sure it comes with quite a steep price tag too. Then the other thing that I thought was pretty cool was the 3-point hitch setup here. I wanted the students that we have in the class, when we came back, to see how elaborate that was compared to what we have around here. Did anybody do this? No? This was a farming simulator game that New Holland had set up, and students could sit down and play for about 12 minutes, and there are real life opportunities simulated for folks to harvest and make some money. And this is a commercially available video game anyway. And then you can see there are prizes available. You can pick, goodies to take home. A couple of other fun things. The Wrangler booth, you could spin a wheel and win prizes, like free jeans, free t-shirts. A lot of the students follow Welker Farms, right, on YouTube?
Yeah.
And this was Nick Welker, and he was there as part of the Case International Harvester booth, and he was greeting people. As you can see, he greeted me.
This was me at this expo, catching up with state officers. Ian Goodyear, which is vice president, and Lucas Allen, which is treasurer.
The other thing that was neat about the Career and College Expo is that they had opportunities for students who were in attendance to visit with representatives from these companies and get information on employment possibilities, as well as, okay, I want to work for you, what do I have to do to get there? So that was very informative too. So that's what this slide portrays.
That was me at the ceremony. On the right, getting my silver medal, and then on the left, I was at the Indiana State Fairground in my white clothes, showing cattle with 50 other competitors. It was fun. It was long.
And you had some wild animals too, didn't you?
Yeah, crazy ones.
This is a picture of all of us from Middlebury FFA and our state friends that also are part of Middlebury FFA. when we first arrived in Indianapolis.
Aaron Townsend, who is on the far left, was also one of the advisors that went along too.
That was the whole state and all the people that went.
Somebody want to talk about the scavenger hunts that go on there, and then I'll play the video?
So some chapters throughout the country have a little challenge that they do where you either have to get an autograph or a picture of the back of a jacket from someone from every state and territory that's there. And being only about 20 of us from representing the whole state of Vermont, we each got stopped probably 70 times a day to either sign something or get our picture taken. We got interviewed a few times for TikTok videos, and also made it onto TikTok all over the place.
So we have one for you to see.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas.
Right through the territory.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, here we go again. I don't know where I am.
Very fun.
Righty. Does anyone have any questions for our group?
Can you put your first slide back up so that
Sure.
the spelling of their names? please?
Sure. Go ahead, Jen.
Michael, were any of the wild animals your own? Did you bring your own animals out
No.
there?
So there's 3 different farms. I forget their names. They were local in Indiana. One farm was Holsteins, one farm was Jersey, another farm was Brown Swiss. So basically, they pull you out of a hat, and you have a signed number, and a number is on a cow. And so basically, there's different age classes. So you have the heifer age class, and you have the cow age class. So I was in the cow age class.
You got a Jersey?
No, I got Brown Swiss. And she was crazy. And then, so I went out behind there to pick her out. Funny, they had those yellow curtains around so that the dairy cattle evaluators couldn't see them. So they couldn't see their cheating, as they call it, cheating. So I went back and I grabbed her, and then there's 3 rings, and we showed them one for all the cattle evaluators. And then after that was done, then the heifer group went in. So it was about a process of 2 hours.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else? I'll ask, could you just tell us a little bit about the competition that you did to get your bronze medal, like what it entailed?
So we had to take a written test. Each of us had to take one on our own. That was it 80 some odd questions?
And it was virtual?
Well, the state one.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. Was a paper test. We had about 2 hours to do it, and then we had an hour or so to do a team activity, all 4 of us. And then at the national one, we had the first part was 100 questions, and it was virtual. And then whenever we got, the day after we got there on Wednesday, we had to do another additional 85-ish questions on paper. We had 2 hours to do it, and then we had to do the team activity again.
we spent most of the summer meeting as a team and developing our knowledge on taxes and tax information and numbers and percentage, things
Great.
like that.
Congratulations. That sounds like a lot of tests.
So, folks in the room, Kim Farnham has a question.
Kelly, I was wondering if you could speak to the jackets. Obviously everybody should have a jacket. Is that something that's purchased? Is it supplied by the Career Center? And the significance of the jacket?
Great
Thank you.
question. Thank you. So students who are going to nationals or are one of our chapter officers, the chapter purchases the jackets, and if anyone eats at the Addison County food or the FFA food booth or dairy bar at Addison County Field Days, your patronage of those businesses help fund these trips and the purchase of these jackets. So what you see here is what's called the official dress. And so they have to wear black shoes, black socks. I don't know. Yep. All right. Thanks, Josh. Black pants, the official FFA jacket, which I'll talk about here in a minute, a white collared top, a white collared shirt, and then an FFA tie. The other thing is too, they have under their names, if they have a name on their jacket, they can have 3 different pins. They have the highest medal that they have earned. So right now, Josh is sporting his bronze medal from nationals, right?
Yep.
Yep. And it was replaced by the gold medal you won at states, right?
Yep.
Your highest degree and your highest office. So you're only supposed to have 3 pins on there at one time. If you are a state officer and you have earned your state degree, or what we call the Green Mountain degree, you would have a little chain, and on the inside of these jackets, you've got a little tab that the chain clips here, and then you hang your state degree from that chain, and you can display it that way. If one of you would turn around and come up front, please. Okay, all of you, that'd be great. Okay, so all the jackets from states have the state at the top and then their chapter at the bottom. If these were state officer jackets, it would say Vermont Association, Nebraska Association. The national officers, and there are 6, they just have the emblem on the back. So the jacket you saw in the video was a national officer jacket because it just had the emblem on it. The emblem is very significant as well. This outer portion of the symbol is at the cross-section of an ear of corn. And the ear of corn symbolizes not only the secretary's role in the organization, but also that corn is grown in every state of the United States and territory. So it's a united symbol. We have agricultural education. That was changed about 40 years ago. It used to say vocational education on there. And we all know that the perception and the whole meat of career and technical education has moved away from that former title. We have an owl, which symbolizes the knowledge and wisdom of the advisor. And we also have the plow, which symbolizes labor and tillage of the earth, and the vice president's symbol. And the rising sun is on there too, which symbolizes a new hope and era in agriculture. It's also the symbol of the president. And then we have the American flag on this shield, and then of course the eagle, which is our national bird. So there's another emblem right there on their left chest. So the other thing about this as well is this is only to be used for official business. You can't just wear this, you're not supposed to wear this to school. And we really appreciate a lot of you guys can turn back around again. Thank you. They're so used to showing their backs from those TikTok opportunities. In this group, Erin and I cannot thank them enough for how responsible they were and how engaged they were in all these activities. They were out meeting other students, and they studied hard to get there. They were everywhere they were supposed to be, and they were the most well-behaved and respectful group we have ever taken. They were just incredible, and that just makes the trip so much fun. And I just am so grateful to them for all that. So, folks, have anything more you want to add before we step down? Thank you for letting us have your audience. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, are there any other questions for our guests? I can only see the presentation, so I can't see if anybody's got a hand raised, so. All right, well, thank thank you. I don't see any hands raised, and I don't hear anybody shouting at me, so I guess we're all set. Thank you very much. I'm glad you all had the opportunity to go to National FFA Convention, and I hope that you learned a lot and will encourage others to travel the pathways of the FFA creed and where it will take you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you. There you go.
All right, so we will move on now, board. We're into the action agenda. We received a retirement letter from Woody, and I know as a personal piece, Woody has always taken any of the students that I've asked him to take from wherever I have taught, and he has done a wonderful job with any of the students that I have given him. And he will sorely be missed, but as it is our duty, I would like to ask for a motion to accept the retirement letter of Woody, our culinary arts instructor.
So moved.
Second.
Steve Orzik, I believe, made a motion to approve that. Is there a second? Bill Biederman has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion or conversation on the motion or any comments?
Sorry to see him go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yes, he has some big shoes. They will be hard to fill.
I think he's one of those iconic instructors here at the Career Center that everybody knows and everybody appreciates. It will be hard to lose him.
Yes, yes, for sure. Does anybody else have any comments? No? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the retirement of Woody, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Tim, I believe this is you, policy 2.5, emergency superintendent succession.
Yeah, it's just a document outlining how we would go about things should I get incapacitated or unable to perform duties or anything like that. So it just outlines what to many of us seems a logical way to approach things. It just puts it in writing. Any questions about any of that?
Are you going to talk later on about progress on putting all the policies in the electronic database? Is that ready?
I wasn't planning to, but I can.
Oh, okay. Okay. Since we were looking at some policies here, I was just wondering what the status of that was.
Well, this is not a board policy per se.
Okay.
So that makes it a little bit different than the other animal we're talking about. I have nothing new to add about the board policies and the revisions of those for right now. Just got out of Perkins. I just said, just got out of Perkins.
And so next focus will be policy.
Okay.
Right, Steve Orzik, these policies that are reported out in the action agenda are our governance policies, and there's a calendar of how they get reported on and which ones get reported on at which point during the year. So they're cyclical in nature, so every year you'll see policy 2.5 come through and C26 come through. But those are the governance policies. They are not ones that we would have received like from the VSBA. Is there any other questions on policy 2.5, the emergency superintendent succession? Hearing none, may I have a motion to accept the policy, please?
So moved.
Moved by Nick,
Second.
seconded, I'm going to say that was Judd.
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Policy 2.6, asset protection. Tim or Mark? I'm not sure who's doing it.
Happy to do that. Looking back on what
was provided to the board in prior years was the coverage that you have with VSBIT, Vermont School Boards Insurance Trust, which covers not only the Hannaford Career Center, but about every school district in Vermont. The policy effective date of July 1, 2022, that was included on the shared drive, Patrice, do I have the name right, or the board link, as Austin had done in prior years. So really nothing has changed other than the policy has been updated.
Are there any questions for Mark on policy 2.6? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept policy 2.6.
So moved, Kim?
It's moved by Kim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Nick has seconded it. Is there any discussion on the motion? No. Did someone say something? Sorry.
Yes,
Nick
Nick
did.
did.
Raise his hand.
I just see that in number 11 is change the organization's name or alter its identity in the community. I think a name change is something that's going to have to be discussed in the next few months if we want to do that, right?
I think we're past time for that.
We are?
Yeah. We've been past time for that for about a month or so.
I'm sorry, folks, but I can't hear everything you're saying, so
There has been some discussion about whether or not we should consider a name change. With
Right.
pending changes to the building itself. And the process to change the name of the center would take a very long time. And we
yes,
wouldn't have
it
the
is.
window.
It's a long process.
We wouldn't have the window necessary to do that prior to the renovations being completed. So we're beyond the ability to do that. But this policy here talks about how the superintendent will not unilaterally change the
That's
name.
right.
Yeah, so, and you have no worries there, because there's no way in the world I would do that. So
I would vote for consistency.
Yeah, well, that
email is
may-
phhcc.org, but the technical name is Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District.
And those may all be good reasons to eventually change the name to one specific unified name that everyone uses.
Yeah.
So that's a future conversation, I think. at some
Jen?
point.
Somewhat tangential here, but if we are not going to consider doing any name change, I know that it was Miss Logie who was sort of spearheading that and asking that question at a couple of meetings. Should we respond in an official way to say, thank you for bringing that forward, this is past, we're not going to be entertaining this?
No, I don't think we should be responding in an official way.
Okay.
Because unless we respond to all public comments in an official way.
Okay.
But we will handle that informally.
Great.
Good.
Is there any more discussion on the motion? Seeing no further hands raised, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Corporate resolution. Mark?
A copy was in your packet. This is doing a little housekeeping. Following the board's directive, the capital project account previously with the M&T Bank has been moved into the National Bank of Middlebury, which is reflected in this form that you have in your packet. It also designates the number of signers required for each account and by title who those signers are. And on the back side of it, it continues with identifying by name who the signers are on the various accounts. And in switching the accounts, the National Bank has asked for this corporate resolution, and I believe this is a formality following the board's directive last month to take formal action and approve this corporate resolution. And then Suzanne, when you're back in Vermont, I need your signature on it. Jane Beck has signed it, in anticipation that you would as well, so.
If someone is around, if the board authorizes me, which I'm sure they will, and if somebody's around at the Career Center on Monday, I will sign it then.
I will be here.
May I have a motion to do what Mark has asked for the corporate resolution, which would be to authorize the chair to sign off on it?
So moved. Judd.
Moved by Judd, is there a second?
I'll second. Nick.
Nick Costin has seconded it. Is there any discussion? Seeing no hands raised, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Mark, you appear to be a popular guy tonight because I think budget development is yours, or is that Tim?
Oh, I'm getting the look. It's a work in progress. Tim and I have met on more than one occasion to bring him up to speed on how our revenue works and for a career and tech center in Vermont. As you know, there are multiple aspects of it, and really the ultimate driver of the greatest source of our revenue is the 6-semester average. We have those numbers. They were provided to me earlier this week. We have got anticipated increases in our health and dental, so we're factoring those into the budget. Tim and I have had early discussions on personnel. In your current budget, personnel and benefit represents 79.1%. I shared that with Tim, and then a couple days ago I said 80%. He said, "You told me it was 79.1." So he's obviously a man of detail, so I remembered that. We're probably 30 to 40% into the process. Really, my focus the next couple of weeks is to really hit the ground hard on this, so that we can get a preliminary draft to the Budget and Finance Committee, or Budget and Policy Committee, excuse me, at their December meeting. And so, anything else, Tim, to add?
No, that's it. We're looking for ways to make sure we're running as efficiently as we can, and looking for ways to trim where we can, because we have a debt service now that's significantly different than our prior year debt services. So we have to figure out a way to compensate for that. So we have a lot of challenges ahead in healthcare. Healthcare is going to go up significantly. The exact percentage of which we're not quite sure yet. We haven't heard official word. Dental is also going to go up as high as 4%. We don't know where we fall in that yet. And we're looking at our personnel and vacant positions and seeing how we can rework those, and maybe run things more efficiently with the resources we have, and maybe use less resources to run them. So we've got a lot of work ahead. And Mark is doing a nice job in trying to get all that processed. So I hope to have a preliminary budget for you in early December, because I have to present to the sending school districts as well, and I would like to give them some kind of fairly solid information at that point in time. And the first presentation is going to be on the 5th of December to those sending districts.
You're starting with ACSD, huh?
Yes. Yes. I'm looking
Would
forward
you start
to it.
anywhere else but ACSD?
I tried, but they weren't having it. So apparently your meeting on the 19th is going to be lengthy. That's the date I asked for. So
Okay.
it'll be on the 5th instead.
Well, not that any of our meetings recently have been short. Monday night we did, I don't know, it was after 10 by the time we got done. I think it was somewhere like that. But Mark, you had asked me and the Budget Committee a question around budget increases, I think it was, and what the board might be. How did you word it? I can't remember how you worded it.
What would we find palatable?
Yes, I think that was it. Can you word your question again so that the whole board can hear it and do a much better job of
Well,
bring it out there, then I,
the challenge is that you have an increase 15 to 16% solely with your debt service being added to this budget, which was not in your FY23 budget. And one of the points I brought up to the Budget and Policy Committee was maybe increasing, it's real, it's there, you can't deny it, but maybe we could look at budget to budget. How are we comparing? Did we go up 3%, 3.5%, wherever that might be? And yes, we're going to have to address the amount of principal and interest on the $8 million project. But I think it would be beneficial, if I could use that term, to at least show the voters when we're comparing what we're offering here in terms of programs and then compared to what we're looking at next year with those similar programs with some of the changes that Tim has alluded to. I think that's an important piece that we shouldn't lose sight of. And then, we're going to have to add that debt. We got to pay the mortgage, as I used to say, and still do. And that's real
Steve,
and it's there. So.
it was, Steve Rooney's got a question for you, I think, Mark.
Mark, do you know in the on the ballot, are CTEs limited to the language they can use on the ballot the same way that the sending schools are?
You mean, Steve, are you asking about the language around how they present the budget numbers?
Right. Like there's a particular format that the state requires or language that you have to use for the school budget ballots.
My experience, Steve, I'm sorry.
And the reason I'm asking is, it might make some sense here to present. Maybe we can only do it up through the informational meetings. What the budget, setting the bond aside in its own kind of little category. I think you might already have alluded to this. Presenting what the budget would have been year to year without the bond added to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a way also to.
That's what we said in the Budget and
ballot.
Finance Committee too.
I think presentation-wise, Steve, I think that has merit. I'm not sure from, you're limited by Title 16 and the tech centers, we followed the same statutes that union schools and other single school districts followed. So I'm not sure we could be creative in the language. I think we'd have to put out what our budget's going to be. But I do feel that in presenting this budget to the public that very point you made is an excellent one, that we should take that opportunity to do
And
that.
I want to say, I think somewhere in one of my meetings, they were talking about changing that very awkward language that has to go on the article around the budget that's being presented, because there was some really strange language that the state had required in it, and I think they've ditched some of it in order to help make the article a lot more straightforward so people kind of understand it better. But I'll have to do some digging to find that. But I do agree with you, Steve, that even if it's only in our informational meetings, that somehow we present, this is the budget, and then this is what our debt is for the building project, and then if you marry the two, then you get to this point, but without all of the changes and the updates that we had done, and will have done, or will do, this is what the budget would have been without all of that. So trying to get them to understand why the jump, I think for us, that might be an easier sell than, say, a school district coming in with a 7 or 8% budget increase, and they can't really blame it on a bond issue. We can at least say ours was the bond issue, which a good majority of the voters voted for, in favor of.
Right, but it also sounds like we could be headed towards 20% if you had it together.
Oh yeah.
and probably easily 20%.
Right.
So, I don't know what what past increases this board has felt were palatable over the previous years.
So budget to budget increase, you're talking without
Right.
bond, yep.
Yeah, I mean, historically, it might be good also to get a bit of a comparison over the last 3 or 4 years as to what we've been looking at for increases. I think we might even have a decrease last year, didn't we?
We did.
We came close.
Right.
Last year we were close. The year before
Yeah, it
was
was 2
quite a
years ago.
big.
There was a big jump
Big
before I
jump.
joined.
Yeah.
Right, Tim, was that a hand up or were you just agreeing with someone?
2 years ago.
Yes, 2 years.
So
Okay. So, and I thought, Mark, you had asked at the budget and policy if the board had ever given administrators like what a figure that they were looking at or an overall percentage that they were looking at that they didn't really want to go over. Was that also one of your questions?
It was.
And that's a question I would typically ask as well. What's the board's parameters for upcoming budgets?
Yeah.
So if we can get some
Yeah.
guidance from the board on that issue, that would be helpful.
And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, board, I don't think we've been asked that in the last couple of years. A budget has been presented to us and told, how much of an increase it was and where they've made some cuts, but I don't think the board itself has been asked that question recently. I do know that the other board that I sit on, sometimes they're asked that, other times they're just presented with a budget, and then if we gasp too loudly, they might make some changes. So what's the board's thought about making a suggestion as far as knowing that we can't do anything with the percentage increase with the bond debt? That's a concrete number that we can't touch. But is there a figure or a percentage that people would like to see us try to stay under, or Steve Rooney?
What is the percentage that this bond is going to make the existing budget go up? What's that
Oops.
figure?
About 16%.
16%. Okay, so
I didn't hear that.
I think Christina asked what the percentage increase was for the bond debt, and that, I believe the answer was 16%.
that's right. Yeah.
So I would assume, Mark, that the first thing you would be doing is just carrying last year's expenses forward with whatever escalation is involved. That'd be kind of a starting point. And
I guess I'm not quite following your question. The first thing I do is I move my salaries.
That's what he's
Oh, that's what you're
That's what
asking,
he just
okay.
yeah, but basically, if we didn't make any changes at all and just carried those costs forward and added escalation to them,
Right.
That would give you a sort of a starting point of a budget.
Yes.
And that figure could be presented simply as a benchmark. And, maybe that's 5%, maybe with the health at 12% this year, maybe it'll be worse, but, we could then say, okay, well, here's just business as usual with escalation. Do we want to make any adjustments to that? Because it's kind of hard to pick out a kind of a ballpark figure of what's a palatable increase without knowing just what business as usual is going to hit us up for.
Right.
Right, so budget to budget, just rolling over.
And if it looks like the percentage isn't that drastic outside of the bond, my sense personally would be, not to make a lot of cuts, because I think we also have some vacancies that we do want to make sure we fill. And we don't want to understaff just for the sake of a percentage number.
Right, and we also may also have a retirement payout. I don't know because I don't know anything more than that. So,
Suzanne,
yes, Nick.
my personal thinking is to let the operations and Tim roll the numbers and then see where we get to, and then we can have a more meaningful discussion as to. I think this is a little premature without running through the process.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So Tim and Mark, where are you in the process? Because I'm thinking logically along the timeline, and if you're going to do presentations to the sending schools on the 5th, the 19th, and are you doing one on the 12th
20th.
also?
12th and 20th, yeah.
Okay. We won't meet again until just before you do the 3rd presentation.
Right.
So,
How about if I provide you that information December 2nd?
okay.
I'll get that
And
out to
then,
you. Get you some very preliminary budget on the 2nd.
so then for the board to give you feedback on that,
Yeah, the budget policy meeting is what date? The agenda, and that was just one thing,
14th.
is going to be the 14th. I know on the agenda, it says, I believe, the 20th, but if you recall, Suzanne, I suggested we move it up, so at least the Budget Policy Committee had more firsthand look at it before the board meeting 2 days later. And so, you were going to that.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that Tim was going to have to make a presentation.
Yeah, but they're not going to get final budget numbers.
Maybe you can just give them
some
basic bullets.
But
Yeah, I know that, I think even in the past, Dana gave out the budget as he saw it at the time and then updated them later, which happens even in, I'm sure.
It's going to have to happen that way no matter
Going to
what.
happen several times.
I think Dana only gave the big lines.
Yeah. I want to try to give them as much detail as I can at that point in time, the best knowledge we have at that point in time.
Right.
So I'm thinking December 2nd would be a good time to give you the information we have. And that would be the basis for the information I present to the sending school district board, and you'll get it before they do.
so Tim, would you like for the board to come together on the 2nd for a special meeting for
No.
half an hour? Or?
No, that's not necessary. And board members can provide me some feedback if they have any at that point in time individually.
Okay.
No deliberation via email, no conversation.
Yes, no,
in
no,
person,
no.
nothing like
Just-
that.
Just one email to Tim.
Yeah, one email. Well, Mark also. Mark and I. But that's really it. And no feedback is necessary unless you have something meaningful that you want to share, or some question you have about something that's in there. We don't want to deliberate even via email just between you and I. We don't want to do that.
Right. We do not want to run afoul of public meeting law.
If I can ask a quick question, when was the last time we retired a bond, and how is that being presented to everybody? Just so we have some history and we can say this is what we see as a percentage, this is how we did it in the past. And I guess, Nick, you're the only one who was here who might know that, correct?
No, I haven't been around when a bond got retired.
Kim might know that.
Who, me?
Do you know about the retirement of any bonds? You've been on the board.
We've had,
if I could,
we've had the bonds for long.
They don't come to mind immediately, no.
Oh, Kim, okay. The only one, Suzanne, I believe this building was in place when, as part of Middlebury Union High School, and anybody that's been around, Linda, I'll look to you, and was kind of just handed off to the tech center to start the variety of names and become the Patricia Hannaford Career Center. The bond issue in 2006 for North Campus
has the first payment, and that was in the fall of '06. So that'll be paid off in the 26, 27 fiscal year. So you still got 4 more years, or 3 more years on that bond. That's $105,000 in principal and about $10,000 in interest. So that'll be the first bond issue, as far as I know, that will be paid off by the Career Center, because the building was here and really there was no bonded indebtedness, to the best of my knowledge, when the Career Center took it over from Middlebury Union.
So that whole process will work into our strategic thinking as well about how we're going to deal with funding the debt service. We may be able to use some other resources to get us through these next 4 years, because we'll have 2 bonds essentially for a 4-year period. So we'll be strategizing ways to deal with that and try to get us through to that bond is retired.
Okay. Any other comments, questions on the budget?
I've got something, Suzanne. So,
Christina?
Addison Northwest met this week and we started our budget discussions, and one of the figures that they threw out for the insurance increase is 16%. That's what where we're starting with, 16% increase just for insurance, plus dental, plus workman's comp. They were all sky high. So just
That's going to be tough.
FYI. And I have just one question. Do you get credits for debt service in the budget, like to apply at some point?
What credit regarding?
Regarding how much debt you have, isn't there such a thing as debt service credits? Because that came up when we were talking about the merger vote, and Addison Northwest has more debt than now-made debt, but we also get more credit applied to the debt in our budget than. So I'm just curious.
The tech centers have never received any.
No.
None from the.
Okay.
What was the question, Christina? Sorry, we can't hear you at all.
I'm sorry, about debt service credits. So if you have a certain amount of debt that a school district owes, then you get a certain amount of credits towards it. I don't completely understand it all, but that issue came up when we were all talking about the merger vote, because they were trying to compare Addison Northwest had more debt than Mount District did, but Mount has not invested into their buildings the way that Addison Northwest did, but we also get debt service credits in the budget. So I was just curious if that.
Our funding formula is different, and it may be part of the funding formula.
We're totally different.
That the school district receives that gives them that credit for debt indebtedness, whereas ours is a totally different.
It seems very unfair on some level.
Don't get us started.
I know, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions around the budget? All right, thanks Mark, thanks Tim. Sorry, that looks like there's a lot of work ahead for you again. The next thing is the superintendent search update and dates. Judy would have come tonight to present this to you. Unfortunately, she had knee replacement surgery on Monday, so she's a little bit late up. But the position closed November 3rd. She has started and is in the process of vetting. There are 9 candidates. There's a mixture of males and females. That's all I know. I don't know anything else about them. She had suggested this timeline. I had looked at it. Tim has looked at it. Tim and I both think that it's kind of compressed and really tight. When I looked at it, I had told her that the finalist interviews and the board meeting to announce the new superintendent, we might be able to push that because we have an annual meeting coming in February. That maybe at the annual meeting we could make that announcement. us giving ourselves a little breathing room in this. But if I back up, the December 1st date, or whatever we pick for that date, that is a virtual meeting. Judy will have the candidates that she's bringing forward to the board. She will have done virtual interviews with them and recorded them. The board will be in a virtual executive session. We won't actually get to meet the candidate, well, we'll meet the candidates, but we won't get to interview them. From what I understand from Judy, we'll just see their interviews. From that, we'll select 2 to 3. So we'll probably see all 9, and then we'll select 2 to 3 to bring on campus. And that means 1 candidate a day, just like we did the last time around, and we would have all the same types of groupings unless the board wanted to add in a different group or add in more groups. But it would mean that we'd have a group of administrators, so the superintendents, principals would be one group. We'd have some business community members, we'd have students, we'd have faculty and staff, all participating in the in-person interviews. And then from there, then the board would then meet and make its final decision and then offer the position. What do people think about any of the dates?
Suzanne, you only gave us the date of December 1st. Is there other dates that you can share?
I'm sorry, I can't.
You only gave us the date of December 1st. Are there other dates you can share? Because there's nothing in.
So December 1st was the one date that Judy sent to do a virtual online with the board. That was the only date she sent us. She has asked if the board doesn't like that date or wants to do a different date for me to collect those dates and send them to her. She did give 3 dates or 3 clumps of dates for the in-person interview selection. It was the 12th through the 15th, the 3rd through the 6th of January, or the 9th through the 13th. But when I told her that we had the board has an annual meeting in February, she said, well, maybe then we could look at a different set of dates for later in January, but I would have to send them to her and have her see her. Her availability to be in person with us is going to be limited to the fact that she had surgery. She has another colleague that is willing to be on the ground with us, just like Judy did, but this colleague would be with us. So Judy basically wants us to look at these dates. If we don't like any of them, or if we think they need to be pushed out, for you guys to give me some dates, and then I will forward them to her, and she'll check her calendar and her colleague's calendar and get back to us as to what works.
So is it safe to say the process starts early December and should end somewhere around the time of the annual meeting in February?
It would, so at the annual meeting in February would be when we would announce who the superintendent is. So we would probably have to have like a board meeting either the very end of January or the beginning of July to make that decision. And then hopefully do all of the contract work before then, so that we aren't announcing a superintendent that then could back out on us. Well, I suppose they could still back out on us because the job doesn't actually start till July 1.
December 1st is in 10 days, right?
Yep. I mean, if you'd like, we could move that December 1st one, we can move it another week to the 8th if you wanted. Or we could even move it, well, I was gonna say we could move it to the 15th, but that's a board meeting and I don't wanna make, because this meeting with the observing the candidates is probably gonna be 2 to 3 hours. So she also said you could look at a Saturday if you'd like.
Well, certainly, early December is better than mid to end of December.
I mean, if
We do
people
need
would
get
like
on this
to
quick.
check their calendars and just individually send me some dates, if you send them to me by tomorrow evening, I can then collect them all and send them off to Judy. Tomorrow is a travel day for me. I'll be traveling back from Warwick, Rhode Island. So I will not be able to do any like emailing with you or anything. You can email me, but I won't get anything until I get back into Vermont tomorrow late.
I don't have any problem with the first.
Can everybody do the first?
Understood.
Just remember, Steve, that it's looking at a 2 to 3 hour meeting, and December 1st is a.
I'm an MAUSD school board member. I know what 2 or 3 hour meetings are like.
Yeah, well, ACSD just moved their board meetings and start at 5:30.
I know what 4 and 5 hour school board meetings are like.
Yeah, I hate those long meetings. But what would,
But maybe the sooner the better.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and if you can
All
make
right,
December
so-
1st work, that would be the way to go.
Yeah.
I think that would be good if we can do it.
4 to 7, or 4 to 7?
Giving them more time is better, I think.
okay, so are people wanting to do December 1st?
Yes.
Okay,
If
We're
possible.
all shaking heads, right?
If possible.
Yep.
I need to check.
okay, I will ask her to keep if we can still keep the December 1st. And then for in-person interviews, do you like any of those 2 January chunks of time, or would you rather like go the 9th through the 13th and maybe the week after that or 2 weeks after that, or?
I'm still in favor of as soon as possible.
So am I. 3 to 6.
Yeah, the first of the month's way better than any other weeks.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Between other boards.
The only concern I had around, the real concern I had around January 3 through 6 is you're coming off of a holiday and schedule of travel and such might be difficult.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, that next week wouldn't be too bad, I guess, the 9th and the 13th.
Yeah, the 12th, Thursday the 12th would be a good day.
So, remember, there could be 2 or 3 candidates, depending on what we choose, so that there would be 1 candidate per day. So if there's 3 candidates, there's 3 days worth of interviews right in a row, or close to in a row. Or there could be only 2 candidates.
Well, that week works for me.
So you're,
Uh,
do I hear that the board's in favor of the 9th through the 13th?
I like the 9th through the 13th personally. I think
Yep.
Okay.
there's no other.
It's pretty crazy.
So if we went the week of the 9th through the 13th, the 19th would be our next scheduled board meeting. And we could come together that night and then make a final decision.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Okay, I will ask Judy the 1st, the 9th through the 13th, and then tell her the board would meet on the 19th to make a final decision. Oh. All right, So the other document, I'm gonna try to make up some time here because we just took a lot of time on that. I sent you a draft of board goals. Does anybody have any thoughts on them? So these are some of the things that we have worked on. And then we've kind of wordsmithed them. I would suggest, though, that some of us have talked about the strategic plan. The way the goals wordsmith out, they will start us towards a strategic plan, but personally, I would not want to start a strategic plan process until we have a permanent superintendent on board. No offense to you, Tim.
No,
You were doing a wonderful job, and I'm not trying to insinuate anything here, but I just think that a strategic plan, I think it would feel awkward if we started it this year and then brought somebody full-time into the...
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts about that. In that, while this was being discussed, that's exactly what I was thinking, that the new person should be the one shepherding that process for several reasons. One, the new person would be vested in the outcome of that thing.
Right.
Because they're going to be here for a long time. And two, I would not want to come into a situation where the strategic plan was just done, and then I would have to shepherd that process, even if I thought it wasn't an appropriate strategic plan. I'd be obligated to follow that plan. So,
Right.
and this would also give the new superintendent an opportunity, because part of strategic planning is looking closely at the organization. That gives that person a chance to really dive into and learn the organization quickly. So I think there's a lot of benefits to doing it with the new person. I've done plenty of them. It's easy to do from my perspective, but I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So, does anybody have any comments on community outreach goal, or the financial stability goal, or the governance principle goal?
Well, personally, I think the governance principle roles and hiring a superintendent is number one.
Well, I think that's kind of a given, Nick.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone in this order, but I don't know if that matters.
I'm not sure if there's any specific order other than maybe alphabetical.
Oh, okay, maybe.
I mean, that's the only thing I could come up with, is they're kind of in alphabetical order, but
Yeah.
maybe there was another design behind the way they came out.
So I have to admit, I'm just cracking this open.
Okay.
I kind of got lost in a flurry of emails at the very end here. It looks like they're sort of organized in 3 different formats but include the same information, is that right?
So, so part of this is taking our words and that we had sentences, and then breaking those down into groupings, and then from those groupings of different sentences, then trying to coerce them into board goals.
Okay, so this is the first couple pages are a synthesis of our raw ideas, and then
Yep.
she brings them all together on the last page in a
Yep.
goals summary.
Yeah. So that the one where the goals are in a box, each box.
Mm-hmm.
So, My suggestion might be we add these to the docket next month and we take them up and approve them. And then these be our goals to work towards and see how we do for the year. Unless somebody wants to change any of them drastically.
I would not want to do that tonight.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, you guys? Since I was not in attendance for this, I was just wondering if the issue of equity came up in your conversations when you were talking about board goals.
Christina, sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry. I said I was not able to attend this when you guys worked on all of this, and I was just wondering if the issue of equity had come up in your conversations related to the Career Center and students, and you know, it's just such a big topic in all the school districts right now, and I just was wondering about that.
I mean, we did talk about diversity of our student body and emphasizing that CTE education is for all students and doesn't matter, you know, who you are, but we're welcoming of all. So we did, we talked about it in that manner. I'm not sure if we actually brought out the word equity. But remember, these are board goals. So this is what the board can possibly control, not what, not on the, we aren't like in the classroom. We aren't working with the guidance counselors and the sending schools. These are goals that the board can ask questions about and participate in on their own community outreach. We can participate in financial stability as us building a budget that we can get behind and put out to the public and be stewards of their money and be responsible. And governance is our work, is making sure that the Career Center runs and runs well.
Sure, but I do think it's partly our responsibility to make sure that how the Career Center is operating and using an equity lens to examine everything that you do here, right? And I think maybe that's our job to ensure that that's happening. I don't know if it falls under our goals or not, but it seems like it could be a goal to ensure that we're taking a look at things in that manner. But, yeah, I'm good. Just curious.
Well, what would the board like on that? I mean, would you like to see a goal on equity, or would you?
Well, we did talk about diversity, as you said, and we also said to try and get CTE as a where was it? CTE is remove the stigma that CTE is only for those who cannot make it to a four-year college. So that's equity, right? I'm not sure what this word equity is.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
But it's.
I think if you can define equity, it's better than just using the word. That's only my opinion.
I think it has a lot to do with trying to even out the performance of students who are economically disadvantaged or physically or mentally disadvantaged, as well as, you know, the cultural diversity. And I think some of that's embedded in that CLNA
Right. It is, and
document.
the directive from the Agency of Ed on the CLNA document is that we have to increase the diversity of our students.
Well, and also show, how we're supporting
Right.
the underperforming, historically underperforming and underserved kids, and I think it's our duty to monitor that progress for sure.
Right, monitoring it, but the day-to-day piece.
The day-to-day execution of it obviously is not our responsibility, but we should understand how we're doing on it and whether or not we're improving on it or not.
And I think that would come under the governance principles, because the data that were provided by the superintendent and his staff would then help us understand if we are making any changes or movement in any of those areas, and if not, then then it would be up to the board to then ask the superintendent, why not, and see if there's a plan to be put in place to try to change any of that. But remember, board, our only employee is the superintendent/director. He, in turn, then hires everyone else. So everyone else works for the superintendent/director, and so what's the board's pleasure? Would you like?
I have a question, or I have a point.
Steve Orzik, sorry,
Yes.
thank you.
So, Nick, you said that it depends on how we define equity. And I mean, it seems to be that we're trying to broaden the definition of equity to not address the point of diversity. I don't think the population here at the Career Center is even as diverse as the limited diversity that we have in the sending school districts. And I think that is an issue. And it should be addressed. I'm not sure if that's what you meant by an equity
I think
piece.
that's what I'm getting at. Like, I'm wondering, what does diverse population, what did you all mean by that? Like, is it equity for all, or? Right.
I understand that it is an uncomfortable topic in Vermont, the second whitest state in the country. But we really do need to address this. We're not, we're talking about how we need to improve how the Career Center is perceived and all these other things, but when we have limited opportunity for diversity and we're not even meeting equity with the sending school districts, I think that's a huge issue that should be a goal that this board can address. And I think, and I'm sorry, it felt like we were dancing around that a little bit. So I wanted to say for the record, I think diversity and equity, although related, are two separate issues, and that there should be something either about diversity or addressed under the umbrella of equity specifically. My 2 cents.
I mean, I think what's missing for me is the bias part of this whole conversation. Gender bias, racial bias, onward we go.
And there happens to be a VSBA policy on all of that.
How are we doing? Do we have numbers that say what our diversity percentages are on the basis of sex and race? Because I've not seen that.
In the CLNA report, I believe those numbers are there as reported.
They're in there, yeah.
Yeah, that's a document produced in the CLNA process that I'm pretty sure I shared out with you guys before. I can do that again. But I want to be careful about, when we're talking about board goals, we're talking about board goals. If we had board policy that was a barrier to equity and diversity, then that would be an appropriate board goal to set to modify that and rectify that situation. Right now, we don't have policies that are barriers to equity and inclusion. Well, I don't anticipate that going in the wrong direction either. So we're talking about board goals here.
Yeah. But we're also talking about diverse populations here. Like, honestly, what does that mean?
Sorry, Christina, your
Sorry,
comment
I
was?
said we're also, in our goal here, we're addressing a diverse population, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around what that really means.
So, again, I think that comment around diverse population came from the presentation that we had seen last spring around the CLNA numbers and the categories that were in there. And then it was reported out by program, females, males, and then how students reported themselves, and then the special populations, which we had asked for them to be broken out as to what exactly a special population was. So I think that was the conversation around diverse populations, that's where that came from. It was based in the CLNA information. I'm sorry, does anybody have their hand raised? I can't really tell.
Now we're all just nodding our heads.
So,
You raised
would
your
the
hand
board
up
like
real
me
quick.
to put these 3 goals into the board drive, and then we can vote on them or approve them, or whatever next step you would like to take at the next meeting? I see Kim nodding her head, but I don't know what the people in the room think.
I'm good with that too.
Yeah.
Steve is good with it.
Stephanie has 2.
Tiffany and Sue, there's 3. Judd's got his hand raised.
Thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs up.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll put them in the board drive. Thank you. Informational agenda, you got, the reports were in the drive, although I did field a few comments from board members that they were finding it a little hard to find the different reports this time around. And I didn't have time to query them any further than that. I just got emails. So if anybody on the board that sent me the email, if they'd like to talk about what they found or what was difficult so we can fix it for next time. Okay. I think in the past we've been given a folder with each month's minutes.
And
Yes.
Tim provided a link. Tim provided a link to the folder on the 14th, which is what I used to look through it. I think it might just be helpful when the agenda comes out, which was separate. I think Jay issued the invite, or the agenda. They kind of come out in separate emails, and it might be good that it has one that's kind of the official agenda folder or whatever email. So when you're looking through the 25 you've got before the meeting, you're picking on the right one.
Okay. Tiffany, did you say something?
Sorry, no, I was just thinking about the folder idea as well.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions around any of the minutes? And some of these minutes, remember, have not been approved yet because they're committee meetings that have happened, and those committees have not met since. So therefore, the minutes may or may not have been approved, so they might still be draft.
Suzanne, the budget,
Yes.
the budget and policy minutes, are those the ones that we approved on Tuesday?
To be honest, I did not read all of the committee minutes, so I don't know.
Were there
I think it is, I think they
Were there
were.
any changes in the budget and policy meeting to the previous month's minutes?
No.
Well, there was an update.
Yeah, so I put the update in there.
Uh-huh.
The update is
after-
in there.
But on item, in 10, item B, that's not what I updated it to, and so someone altered it subsequently, and I didn't see that.
So I honestly don't know, Steve. I'd have to go back and look. I know the minutes from this past Tuesday's meeting will be typed and sent either tonight or tomorrow.
Okay.
And so they'll be in, but I didn't.
I think that's what was in there before.
Well, and so so we were asking people from the committee to add to that, and you did.
Mhm.
And then that reminded me that there was another part of that conversation, so I added that second part on there about the ESSER funds not being available.
And that's what
Okay.
Suzanne said in the
Right.
meeting.
Right. So Mr. Orzak, you hadn't put that on there.
But
I added that.
Suzanne did mention that in the meeting.
Okay.
So maybe is that where you could?
Well, there was that, because I don't remember me putting that in there. I'm not saying that it didn't happen.
Right, no,
No.
You didn't, the second
No.
part I put in there.
No, that came from Suzanne.
But when we were talking about it, I specifically, because I have a handwritten note here that said, Suzanne responded that it had been discussed and not moved forward. As I recall that conversation, Suzanne said that it had been discussed with the teachers and they had declined that.
No,
I don't remember anything.
I
that
said
we
it hadn't
wanted.
been moved forward. And
Okay.
it's because we don't have ESSER funds.
That's right.
Okay, okay.
I think, if I remember, Steve, it was the other sending schools that got the ESSER funds, and they were the ones who declined to offer the ESSER funds for our needs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Suzanne mentioned that.
Yeah, that's what we call
Yeah.
it, to my recollection. But now I'm down in my own memory.
No.
Well, the only reason because I wrote down that you said that because it was such a surprising statement to me, and I have a handwritten note here, and maybe I misheard what you said or misunderstood what you said, but I thought I had put that in the original notes. But anyway.
Okay.
So, and we approved the minutes the way they came out at the budget and policy packet.
Yes, we did.
Is the ones that we approved.
Yep.
And the ones that are in the board folder for tonight are the same.
These are the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not change that it's an updated draft, so we could take updated draft off of what's in the board folder for tonight.
Okay.
Because that meeting did happen. I had put these in there before that meeting happened.
Are there any other questions around any of the other reports that are in there? Or around Tim's? Tim's been doing such a great job of keeping us up to date.
I love the Friday emails. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. So he's leaving me nothing to report,
Yeah.
so that's why there's not an assistant director report in there. But I am finalizing a November newsletter that I'll obviously share with all of you, and we'll get out to as many community members as we can.
And does anybody, speaking of reports, is thinking around the tiny home, did anybody get a chance to go to Homes First? You did? Oh, great, Tim. How did it go?
The kids did a nice job. 3 of the students were there. And Nick and the students gave a presentation. Jay was there as well. And they did a nice job. They're a little nervous. One of the students, I have never seen him smile until last night.
All right.
First time I've ever seen him smile. And it was a nice experience for them. I think the Homes First Vermont people have a really tough challenge ahead of them, but they have other people to tap into to help them get this thing moving. And I'll provide, I have more information set up for the weekly update tomorrow. So you'll get more information in a couple of, I don't know if I have any.
All right,
pictures
great. I look forward to that. I shared it on Facebook and on Front Porch Forum, and a couple of my friends said, "Oh yeah, we saw that. We weren't able to go, but we saw it," and they appreciated the information to know what the students were doing in construction tech.
One thing that I noticed that kind of worried me was the number of students in the architecture and engineering program. 2.5, is that it?
Those are FTEs, yeah. It's a small number of students. And it's a reinvigorated, re-envisioned program.
Yeah, I'm wondering what we can do to broadcast that a little.
Yeah, well, in the visits we have students coming, I think, bless you, I think December 2nd,
8th and 9th.
2nd, 8th, and 9th. We have 10th grades visiting from the various buildings. I know that Brenda Logi was out at, I think, at Middlebury, 10th grade visit today, and she has other visits scheduled as well. So, you know, we're doing what we can to promote that program and make people aware that it's there. So it's we're viewing it as a program that's starting out, because essentially it is.
Okay.
Starting out.
What about, does Brenda reach out to the homeschoolers and get them in to visit?
Yeah, and maybe you can talk more about that.
She's in regular contact with them, or, I mean, whenever they're contacting her, she's setting up visits and having them come in and see programs, so.
'Cause I didn't know if it would make sense to reach out to the state and see if they could send a global, here's a date for like homeschoolers to come visit the Career Center, and have them send it to their serve list in Addison County.
There's a homeschooler listserv.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can't reach out directly to the homeschoolers. It has to come from the state. So they have the list of all the homeschoolers that have registered with the state.
Okay. Do that.
Are there any other questions on any of the reports? Bill, was that a hand up or no? Okay.
Scratching my eye.
Kim, Steve, or Tiffany, any questions?
All set?
Okay, so the one thing on the number 10, the board roles and responsibilities, I had this added. It's the so the VSBA ethics piece that I believe we should have all signed this year. If you have not signed it, Patrice will, I believe Patrice is the keeper of all of these after they are signed. And I just ask that everyone make sure that you have signed it and review it. And I just think that, you know, Tim's email that he sent out where he talked about people that are looking to become superintendents or applying to be superintendents, they truly do look at not only board meetings but at committee meetings, and they read minutes because they're all public documents. So they're looking at to see what type of individuals they would be working with if they were to apply. So I just encourage us to think about that and with our interactions with each other. And then again, if people have not signed that ethics policy, please, if you don't think you've signed it, reach out to Patrice. She'll tell you if you signed it. If you haven't, she'll get you a copy of it and have you sign it. And that's something we go by. And Steve, your hand's up.
Yeah, that was my question. I think I signed it, but
I think you did, but I will make sure.
Would it be possible for Patrice to reach out or send an email individually to those members who have not signed it? Wouldn't that be a better way than for us all checking with her?
I will do that.
Thank you.
Okay. And Patrice, I'm sorry I didn't introduce you at the very beginning of the meeting. I didn't realize you were sitting there.
She's okay
Because
with that.
I can't see you.
She doesn't want to be seen.
Oh, all right. Sorry, Patrice. I'm so. Would you like to introduce yourself right now?
Yes, she does.
Hello.
Yes, she is.
You have to.
Patrice Alexander.
They can't see you. Stand over.
She can, he can.
I can't.
Oh, I'm sorry, hey. Now I see you guys.
Thank you,
Yes,
Patrice.
thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Thank you.
Who would like to take policy 4.1 governing style on?
Before we do that,
Yes, Steve.
we talked in the budget policy. I would like to make a motion about the stipend.
Oh, well, Steve, for us to take action on something, we have to have it on the agenda.
Not to approve a stipend, simply to charge the director to report back to the board on the possibility of providing the $500 stipend to teachers who served during the pandemic. So it's not.
It still would have to be an agenda item.
Okay. I would like to request that be put on the agenda for the next board meeting then.
Okay. All right, so noted. Policy 4.1 governing style, who wants to take it? Judd?
Thought the meeting went really well. It started promptly on time. The FFA presentation was wonderful. Sorry that you guys weren't able to hear the audio on those videos. Kim, they did discuss in the video the importance of the jackets and everything, so that you guys missed out on that, but we didn't. And the other video was, anyway, it's a bummer you guys didn't get to hear the audio, but it was good. We went a little bit over on time, but I think it was robust discussion, and that's a good reason to go over on time.
Thank you, Jen. Tim, do we have anything for executive session?
We do not.
So, if that's the case, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second. Okay.
Moved by Jed and seconded by Nick Costin. Is there any discussion on adjourning?
Nope.
All right, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Probably not. Have a good night, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And I will reach out to Judy with these dates for you.
Thank you.